Hi, welcome back. So, this time I am playing Valor's Christian Death. I'm playing this album, The Wind-Kissed Pictures. So, I don't think there's any of it. Yeah, we'll have one little leaflet thing in here. It's a picture of Valor, David Glass, and Jeton Dimone. Picture of, postmortem daguerreotype. That's a nude photo. I don't think I can show that. Alright. So, in this one, I wanted to... This is another philosophical thing this is something about how when we assign politics to things inappropriately, it can be very damaging. So I was looking into men's rights activism points. And now, I don't side with the men's rights activists that say it's all feminism's fault. No, I don't think feminism and men's rights activism are antithetical to each other. I agree with some of the points of men's rights activists, what they bring up, like the suicide rates of males, the fact that in our society, male genital mutilation is still very, very, very acceptable for some reason. We don't need to be doing circumcisions like as a cultural just automatic. We don't need to be doing that. A lot of the times it's done in the name of, for the sake that it's supposedly hygienic. Like it's hard to pull your foreskin back and clean underneath it or something. It's not. You lose quite a bit of sensitivity by being circumcised, and there was a guy that did a video about he does like a full-fledged presentation on how the foreskin works to educate men who have had theirs removed. Like, apparently there's spots on the foreskin that can cause ejaculation without reaching orgasm, allowing a male to essentially last longer. And being that you lose I think it's 30 or 80%, I don't remember what percentage, you lose a very large percentage of sensitivity. So there's like orgasm sensations of that males are missing out on that have been circumcised. The benefits of circumcision don't outweigh the cons. There's more benefits of being circumcised, even for women. Like it's women will get more pleasure out of uncut guys than they do with circumcised guys. So also apparently if you're uncircumcised, you can masturbate without your hands. Just by flexing your penis you can masturbate. That's interesting. There's other men's rights issues, like the fact that society predominantly sees males as expendable. And I think, even if you follow the lines of feminism, that's something that would stop you. The goal is egalitarianism. And this is something that I find strange is that, like, another men's rights issue is like when it comes to safe houses, like for people who have gone through a lot of abuse and actually, this is really close to home. So on that's very near and dear to me. Their mother got out of a very abusive situation. I mean, we're talking about like he would hold her at gunpoint and threaten to kill both of them. She eventually got out of that, and she went to a woman's home for safety. They got guards. They keep them nice and safe. They don't publish where this is located. It's hard to find. Keep the women safe. And then they helped her get on food stamps and get like subsidized housing, and she was old enough to retire, so she was able to get SSI for that because she was old enough to retire. They helped her get a place and get away and establish safety and security. And the whole time she went through this, she even asked the question, like, what do men do when they go through this? Because all these services that were provided to her, they don't offer this to men. And I think it's very strange that, like, if you advocate for men's rights in this sort of direction, some people might be inclined to say, well, that's very right-wing of you. And I don't think that it is. I don't think it's right-wing or left-wing. I'm going to blow your mind here. Because it's not right-wing or left-wing. It's something called humanitarianism. You can be humanitarian regardless if you're left-wing or right-wing. That's irrelevant. You can be left-wing and absolutely be for men's rights advocacy and be for women's rights advocacy at the same time. Because what you're advocating for is ultimately human rights and humanitarianism and egalitarianism. So, in the entire United States, there's only one place for men to go who are escaping abusive situations. And there's also, divorce courts and alimony, child support, that kind of thing, where there are examples where men do not have a voice at all. And there's cases out there where it's like it's very appropriate for the male to have a voice in that situation. The other aspect that comes up too is male rape. Now, ShoeOnHead did a video about this recently. I will leave a link to that video in the description. But I'll try to find some links to Christian death songs too, and put this and those in the description as well. But ShoeOnHead, she made a video about this young boy who was molested by an older woman. And oftentimes, this is predominantly from the right wing that does this, where they come forward and they say, well, boys are different, they like it. It's okay. And when you talk to these boys that have been through this, no, they don't like it. They do feel assaulted. They do feel that they've been sexually abused or assaulted. Absolutely. And it's I've always said that true egalitarianism, to obtain true egalitarianism, there can't be double standards. There can't be. So men do need to have places to go, like men's shelters. We need men's shelters, not just women's shelters, but men's shelters too. And we need resources available for men who have been put through that. But society has been kind of conditioned to part of the problem of toxic masculinity is, teaching men to be emotionless and not emotionally expressive and be tough and rough and pull yourself up by the bootstraps. So if we're trying to be more egalitarian, and we have to accept the fact that this is inappropriate, and society kind of needs to get rid of some of these very archaic ideals that don't make sense. We need shelters and stuff like that, places for men to go. We need to recognize male rape victims. We need to recognize them too. And that doesn't mean don't recognize female rape victims. It doesn't mean don't recognize female abuse victims. It just means we need to recognize the males that go through this too. That's all it means. It's women's rights activism is not antithetical to men's rights activism. They're not antithetical to each other. It's ultimately about obtaining egalitarianism and establishing humanitarianism. And that doesn't have to be left or right. And so I think it's very strange that that happens when men's rights activism is brought up, is that it's predominantly seen as a right-wing position, and it's like, well, it's not really a right-wing position. It's just a humanitarian position. And for men's rights activists out there, one thing that I'd like to point out is I'm seeing states crop up conversion therapy camps. And I can guarantee you the number one victim of conversion therapy camps is going to be males. Yeah, they're going to be bisexual and homosexual males, but predominantly the victims of conversion therapy camps are males. And what they do is nothing short of being what you could describe as sexual abuse, or being sexually assaulted. I don't know if they've changed today, but one of the things that they used to do in conversion therapy camps was attach electrodes to your genitals and expose you to sexual stimulus, and if you become aroused at the wrong sexual stimulus, they zap your genitals. I mean, there's many cases of where they try to teach them a lesson, and they rape the males. A lot of the times it is boys. A 16-year-old boy comes out of the closet, parents go, I'm not okay with that, send him to a conversion therapy camp. They try to teach them a lesson that things don't go in your butthole, so they sodomize them with this has happened in the past. There's actually a survivor I've covered before of this that's a gay rights activist now, James, I forget his last name, James Westman or something like that, but I can't remember his last name. I know his first name is James. He was sodomized with like objects because they were trying to teach him a lesson. Things don't go in there, it's exit only. And they sexually assaulted him and sexually abused him in this way. And a lot of the times people will say that they're straight just to escape these conversion therapy camps. So as far as, I would say that conversion therapy camp, lesbians are affected by them too, but for a long time, female homosexuality has been widely more accepted in society than male homosexuality. And the biggest victims of conversion therapy camps are going to be males. So I think that that's something that could fall under men's rights category. But, when you politicize everything the way that people have done these days, it's like, I can't be a libertarian socialist, sort of feral democracy, anarchist type person and advocate that if a male is being physically abused, the person who's physically abusing them, it should, this is the thing, it shouldn't matter what the sex or gender is. Assault is assault. Abuse is abuse. Rape is rape. Sexual assault is sexual assault. The sex and the gender of the victim and the victimizer are irrelevant. It's not appropriate regardless, no matter what. So even when it happens to a male, it shouldn't be acceptable. It shouldn't be okay. even if it's a heterosexual male that's been sexually assaulted by a female, this is something that shouldn't be okay. There shouldn't be double standards in egalitarianism. That's not true egalitarianism, then, is it?
So when everybody's become so politically extreme and radical to the point they don't even know what anarchism means, like, oh man, like, I don't want to go into the meaning of anarchy. Basically, no gods, no king, no country, no ruler. It's like the only things I'm really truly against is, like, murder, rape, molestation, like child molestation, abuse, and theft. And theft has a way lesser value to me than the others that I mentioned. I personally think that as long as you're not hurting anyone, you should be able to do whatever the hell you want. And that includes drug use and sex. So, like, the principle, the concept of anarchism is that we don't need any rulers. We don't need anybody telling us what to do. And that it's a form of ultimate freedom. It's been freedoms, liberties completely maximized, and the only thing that's really left is people. Whether you're individualist or collectivist, it's just people. We don't need rulers. And I mean, if you want to keep your God, you can under anarchism, but don't tell me that I have to have your God too. It goes both ways. Humanity has to mature to get to a point where anarchism will work. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. Definitely not in our lifetimes, if ever. So, I'm not one of these weird extremist radical people that's like, oh, because I'm an anarchist, I can only side with feminism, and I can't see any sense or logic or rationality to men's rights activism. Oh, no. On the contrary, I think that it's very important. I think it's very bizarre that there are people out there that say that men's rights activism is right-leaning and antithetical to feminism. I don't think that's true. I don't think it's true at all. I think we can do both. Absolutely. And this is what I find interesting is that, like, let's say somebody is on the right and they agree with certain aspects of feminism, they'll reject it just to be on the right. And I think that's extreme. That's political extremism. That's where politics have turned into dogma. It's turned into a religion for you. And I think that's bizarre, because the majority of the men's rights issues that I've seen, it's like, I don't think these are antithetical to women's rights issues or feminism. I don't think they're antithetical. I think they are important issues that need to be brought up, and I think some of the issues are actually overlapping with feminism. And, like, we talk about toxic masculinity. Well, keeping men from being the top tier of committing suicide and feeling expendable by society, that's part of tackling the issue of toxic masculinity. So that's a win-win on both men's rights and women's rights. Yeah, I mean, so I think I've reiterated it like a million times now, but to me it is very bizarre that you have people out there that have turned politics into a religion to the point where men's rights has been allocated to the right instead of being seen as a humanitarian issue. It's seen as right-wing, and it's not. It's a humanitarian issue. And I think some of the issues that are brought up by men's rights activists are pretty legitimate things that need to be addressed. Absolutely. Now, like I said, I don't side with the men's rights activists that are like feminism is at fault. Feminism is to blame. No, I don't. I don't agree with that. But there are men's rights activists that will agree with me that feminism and men's rights activism are not antithetical to each other at all. And I would encourage people to look into some of the issues of men's rights and decide for yourself. Ask yourself, is raping males okay? Is abuse on males okay? Is that acceptable? I mean, if we're going to say that, if we're going to live in a society where we say that harm to other people is bad, we can't have double standards and say, well, it's only bad when it happens to women. It's only bad when it happens to men when it's at a certain level of severity. No, it's just bad. And I think that women and men should be equal, and when they get prosecuted, and that men shouldn't be getting longer sentences for the same crime than what a woman gets. There should be, it should be the same if it's the same crime being committed. It's the same thing that what we argue with like the humanitarian issues surrounding people of color. Is people of color, they get harsher sentences than white people for the same crime. We're against that. Like I said, egalitarianism, there can't be double standards. But try to break this cycle and let's make men's rights issues not just a right-wing perspective. Let's make it a left-wing perspective too, because it's ultimately about humanitarianism. You do have some men's rights issues out there perpetuated by very particular men's rights activists that are kind of like, it's not so much men's rights activism. It's more like I want. It's more like they want privilege, and I would say the same that exists within the scope of feminism too. You do have feminists out there that it seems like they're not advocating for egalitarianism and humanitarianism. It's more like what they're advocating for is privilege. So, let's try to break that chain and try to break some of this political extreme crap and recognize men's rights issues as it's a humanitarian issue that can be carried by the left. All right, so let me know what you think in the comments. And with that, out.